If a boy never sees strength, discipline, or sacrifice, what do you expect him to become? According to the National Center of Fathering and the Fatherless Generation, 85% of youths in prison come from fatherless homes in the United States. 71% of high school dropouts come from fatherless homes. 90% of homeless and runaway children are from fatherless homes. Nearly 25 million children live without their biological father. 60% of youth self-terminations are from fatherless homes. Strong male influence is key for boys growing to become good men. The stats don't lie. When a boy grows without a male to model strength, leadership, and restraint, then the odds are stacked against him. Boys spend more time in the digital worlds than in the real one, and games are where many of them are learning what it means to be a man. According to Common Sense Media's 2023 report, teenage boys in the United States average nearly 9 hours of screen time per day, with a significant portion dedicated to gaming. The global video game industry made $196 billion in 2023. More than movies and streaming music combined. Digital media, especially games, shape how boys think, feel, and act. Big budget AAA games are built around action, and their core audience are boys looking for power, purpose, and identity. So video games aren't just for entertainment. This is where boys are influenced, get their identity and purpose. What are boys actually seeing in games? You can't become what you've never seen. When was the last time you saw a man in any form of entertainment, including video games, who was worth becoming? And this is important. We need to talk about what's currently being shown to boys. First off, we see lots of weak men. They are physically unimpressive and lack inspiring presence. They don't model strength, grit, or action in any form. In a time when most people live sedentary, inactive lives, this matters more than ever. Boys need to see men who move, who train, who stay fit and strong, because a man who does not take care of his body and keeps himself strong is not doing his job and making himself the best version of himself that he can be. This is why people like David Goggins, Jocko Willink, and Cameron Haynes have such large following. They motivate men to get active and strong. And I'll be honest, over the last 2 years, I've slowly let myself go. When I made fitness a priority in my life, I was better in every other aspect in my life. Once I let that go, then everything else fell apart. And this is why I'm trying to get myself back into shape. This is where I was just 2 years ago, and my goal is to get myself back to that same point. So if you're watching this, leave a comment. Tell me to go out for a run, or encourage me to hit the kettlebell. Just like every other man, I also need that motivation. We're seeing more and more male characters, even in video games, who display physical weakness. We don't need characters like these because they inspire nobody. Also, there are cowardly men. While I don't see many of these examples in video games, I do see these examples in media. Male characters who lack confidence and trip over their own words, especially around women. These moments are framed as being relatable, but often come across as embarrassing and awkward to watch, such as Invincible struggling to ask out Adam Eve, stammering, avoiding eye contact, and having a clear display of zero confidence in himself. These are not social skills to aspire to, and not just from a relationship aspect, just in general communication. People appreciate those who have charisma and who can speak well, speak clearly, and speak with confidence. Also, we see lots of goofy or sidelined men. These male characters are rarely taken seriously. These men only exist just to highlight how much more competent the female characters are. Some of these characters are constantly joking, deflecting, or fumbling while the other women take charge. They undermine any sense of maturity, leadership, or masculine responsibility. Such as Star-Lord from Guardians of the Galaxy. He's always immature, never takes charge, always deferring to others. As well as Ant-Man from the MCU, who looks completely incompetent, especially next to the Wasp, and is always saved by the Wasp. And not all these characters are goofballs. Some of them try to be serious, but still only exist to uplift the female characters, such as Peter Parker in Marvel's Spider-Man 2. He's constantly being rescued by Miles or MJ. And this man has superhuman reflexes, and Mary Jane still took the bullet for him. Don't tell me his spider sense doesn't work against the symbiote, because no matter what, he is still much faster and has better reflexes than Mary Jane. He's literally a superhuman. And if they don't exist just to be goofballs or to uplift the female characters, then a lot of times these men are just evil. Many male characters in modern games are portrayed as either villains, abusers, or obstacles. They're rarely shown as honorable leaders or protectors. This sends the message to boys that masculinity itself is something to fear or reject. Boys will see themselves cast as the problem, not the solution. And finally, this is a whole subject on its own, so I'm just going to lightly touch this. But manly women. More and more video games, movies, and TV shows have very masculine and manly women. They don't resonate with boys at all. Boys can be inspired by strong female characters, but inspiration isn't the same as imitation. They can't model masculinity off a female character. Becoming a man requires seeing a man to display strength, restraint, leadership, and sacrifice in action. A woman can teach a boy to be a good person, but a woman can't teach a boy to be a good man. Most male characters in modern games don't lead, protect, or sacrifice. They're either sidelined, mocked, or reduced to comic relief, often existing only to highlight the competence of women. Instead of inspiring boys with strength and responsibility, they're portrayed as weak, bumbling, irrelevant, or just evil. And when masculine virtue is missing from the stories boys grow up on, they're left without a compass. You don't tell a boy how to be a man, you show him. And what do strong males look like? Obviously, the bulkier the better, of course. No, strength isn't just about muscle, it's about restraint, sacrifice, and purpose. First off, boys need to learn about righteous violence and justice. Violence on its own isn't masculine. It's just a tool. It's neither good nor bad. What matters is how that tool is used and for what purpose. Boys shouldn't grow up thinking all violence is bad, nor should they think violence is a way to get what they want. Righteous violence is using force to protect, to defend, and to bring justice against evil. It's violence with a purpose. Not violence from anger or dominance, but from duty and moral clarity. Men must know when to act and why to act, to protect women, children, the weak, and those who can't defend themselves. If boys never see righteous strength modeled, they either suppress it and become weak men, or they use it recklessly and become bullies, thugs, or tyrants. Games should show men using strength to instill justice, because restraint and righteous action go hand in hand. It's not being perfect or flawless. It's about restraint. It's about responsibility, and it's about sacrifice. A core virtue that men should instill is sabr. My studio name, Sabr Path, is named after this. It means being in control of your emotions even in the worst moments. It's about patience, persistence, and holding your ground through hardship. It's strength rooted in resolve, doing what's right when it's the hardest thing to do, and enduring without letting despair take over. True sabr isn't passive. It's spiritual and emotional steadfastness in the face of real opposition. Bayek from Assassin's Creed Origins is a great example of displaying sabr. He loses his son, but he still remains disciplined and committed to justice. Joel from The Last of Us Part 1, he displays stoicism, endurance, and emotional control under pressure. Lee from Telltale's The Walking Dead, he protects Clementine through sacrifice and mentorship. Kratos from God of War, he provides for and mentors his son in a dangerous world. John Marston from Red Dead Redemption, he sacrifices himself for the safety of his family. These characters represent timeless masculine virtues, discipline, endurance, leadership, selflessness, and emotional restraint. They aren't perfect, but their strength comes from sacrifice and their wisdom comes from pain. These are flawed men in the right way. Not corrupt or selfish, but human and enduring, and they grow from their flaws. Their flaws aren't excuses. Their battles show boys how to stay righteous through hardship. These are the kinds of men boys need to see, because these are the values that shape real men. And here's the thing, you don't need a AAA budget to show masculine strength. All it takes is good narrative and character design, a grounded worldview and purpose. A massive budget isn't necessary to create a character who resonates with boys and men. If boys don't see men who are worth becoming, then they're just going to follow whoever is loud enough who pretends to be a man. Boys crave seeing a male role model who has strength, power, confidence, and purpose. When strong male examples aren't present in life or media, boys turn to the examples that are most prominent. Unfortunately, many of these figures are weak, performative, narcissistic, self-destructive, or just fake men. From toxic online personalities to shallow celebrity culture, the loudest voices rarely model true masculinity. Boys either follow misguided strength, which are ego-driven, aggressive, and angry, or they embrace weakness, absorbing the messaging that masculinity itself is toxic, which leads them to become effeminate, indecisive, people pleasers, and emotionally unstable. Without real examples, boys are either hardened in the wrong way or softened into indecision. Boys without proper guidance end up joining gangs, organized crime, and extremist groups. And without strong models, boys will follow whatever feels most appealing or convenient. Games are more than just games. They steer the direction of society and culture. If strong men aren't present in games or media, then boys will learn from whatever fills that vacuum. That's why we need male characters who show restraint, strength, honor, patience, fatherhood, brotherhood, justice, and righteousness. Not because it's nostalgic, but because it's necessary. If games and entertainment don't show boys what a man is, then something else will, and it won't be a better example. Let me know in the comments below what male character helps shape how you think about strength, responsibility, and sacrifice. Thanks for getting this far in the video. Please leave a like and subscribe. Thank you. Take care. Salam.